On today's video... Oh my god. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Beck and I'm converting my Peugeot partner into a micro camper. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I've made the very DIY basic window covers for the van. This is for when I'm sleeping in the van overnight to keep the van insulated, and it also blocks out light and stops people being able to see in. So, hope you enjoy. So first I just measured all of the windows roughly that I was going to make a window cover for. I did this roughly because I wanted to have a rectangle bigger than the window, and then I was going to put the rectangle on the window and actually draw the shape, so I wasn't too worried about getting the size exact at this point. I also measured where the sat nav and where the reversing camera is. Then I cut out the rectangles from this multi-purpose insulation foil that I got from the range. This was a 5-meter roll and it was 60 centimeters wide, so I was able to cut it into 4 pieces of around 125 centimeters, which was big enough to cover my whole front window and the 2 windows on the doors. This was a little bit cheaper. I got this from the range and it was cheaper than the B&Q, so definitely check this out. Here I'm just measuring where the reversing camera and the sat nav is going so that I can mark those on for making cuts in the foil. Then once I'd cut out those rectangles, I went and I placed them against the window, held them, and then just drew with a Sharpie around where the shape was and just slowly started cutting around the shape and working as I went with it. I actually only made one mistake doing it like this, so this worked out pretty well. I decided to do separate pieces for that little bit of the window just because there's like a piece of plastic in between them, so it made a bit more sense to do separate pieces. Once I traced around both pieces for the windows on the door, I then just went and traced around those to get the second lot for the second door because the windows are the same, so it made more sense to do this. Then they just needed a little bit of tweaking once I put them up against the windows in the door. Moving on to the windscreen, there I was just cutting a line up to where the reversing camera and the sat-nav holder is. Now this was really difficult to do on my own. I couldn't hold up the piece and draw on it. So in the end I actually used a couple of pieces of blue tack to just temporarily hold the sheet onto the window, and then I was able to draw around the main shape. I wanted to draw around the shape of the top of the window and then also where the sat-nav and reversing camera was. Then I just cut out those gaps there, so that's where the reversing camera and the sat-nav goes, and then I cut out the top shape of the window just like that. I placed this back in and I could see that it fit really well, which is good. It was a little bit short on the sides, but I wasn't too bothered about that. Moving on to getting this to actually stick to the windscreen, I used these suction hooks from the range. Now they come in a pack of 4 for £1.79, and they have like these little hooks which you can actually unscrew like this and it becomes a suction cup. But then what you can do is use that hook to actually keep it in place. So I initially measured so that the suction cups would be roughly in a kind of symmetrical pattern, but I put them too close to the middle, so I would definitely put them much closer to the edge because otherwise they start peeling away and I had to go in and add more later. I just pierced a hole in the foil, put the suction cup through it, and then used the hook on the edge to hold them in place, and this worked an absolute dream. So then I just went and checked that it all fit and it looked really good. I was really happy at this point. It took a bit of getting used to of how to kind of get it in the middle. You see there I had to rejig that one, but it looks really good. Now I camped in the van for the first night with only this half piece, and you can see there was quite a lot of condensation, so I knew I needed to finish it. So I actually did this during one of my first weekends away, which you'll see in a bit more detail in a couple videos time. Now the wind was really, really difficult here, so I was having to use baskets to hold it down, I have to use my Crocs in a bit. And here I'm just using aluminium tape to join a second piece of the insulation to the bottom of the windscreen. Because the windscreen is so tall, it was actually deeper than the length of the insulation, so I had to join two pieces together. But this worked really well actually. Now this was probably the hardest bit because I had this huge piece of foil that was way too big for the windscreen, and I didn't want to rip it along where I put the foil, and it wasn't bending down into the creases of the windscreen, so I ended up cutting it up the middle, and that I found a lot easier to get it down to the bottom of the windscreen. I just used a Sharpie again to draw the shape and then used some scissors to cut roughly where it was. Again, I didn't get this perfect, but it works absolutely fine. Now in a couple of videos time you'll see my first night away and this happened. So I decided to go in and add some suction cups to the door window covers, which I hadn't done initially. I just did these in the two corners just because I wanted something to attach it to the window. Again, you can see me tackling the wind here. Big shout out to my Lightning McQueen Crocs, which are a very featured guest in this video. So these window covers ended up fitting really well, and just having the two suction cups, one in each corner, just secured it. These stayed on for a full 3 days that I was camping. And just a close-up so you can see in the corners there, and also so you can see what it looks like on the other side where the suction cup is attached to the window itself. And yeah, this is just a video of me placing the final piece in the windscreen. Now I did put a few more suction cups on the bottom pieces to attach all of it to the window, and it ended up working really well. Now I might later on go in and cover the backs of the window covers with like a nice fabric or something. Initially the only reason I didn't do this was, well, partly time and partly cost as well, but they don't really need it in terms of for both insulation or blocking out the light. Like I say, I camped for 3 nights with these, and even when it was in the middle of the day, these let hardly any light through. So I don't think it needs the fabric, but I might do it just to make it look a bit nicer. All in all, I think I ended up using about 4 packets of suction cups, so I think I spent around £8 maybe on that, and £11 on the insulation, so ended up creating these DIY window covers for less than £20, which I'm really happy with. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video guys, and make sure to check out the next one. See you then!